Twitch.
Cannot connect to Twitch. Oh my god. That's Streamlabs or
Yeah,
Restream.
but we're streaming, so we're at least streaming on
Oh.
YouTube. We're at least on YouTube, everybody.
Oh
Uh,
man.
let's see if the old Twitch is going.
I can tell you that I don't know if Twitch is going. What is our name? Pathetic.
Apathusiast, or maybe no, it's
Ooh,
apathetic enthusiasm.
last live just now.
Bow, bow,
Oh,
bow.
oh my God, just now though. I don't think it still is. Oh no, just now it was for 33 seconds.
Yeah, it's
Not-
we're live. We're live right now, Brandon. That's why that's that number
oh,
is gonna go up. So hello,
oh, I see. Oh
hello to
God.
anybody that is here. Uh, and we just finished the snake episode. Uh, I don't know. Things are all mixed up with our stream. We'll get it figured out.
Before tomorrow.
Before tomorrow, before things are legit. So we'll go back to these happy frames that we like to use for the podcast streams. But what an episode! What an episode
What,
that was.
what an episode that was. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness gracious. Man, that episode, Travis, uh and we'll talk about it more tomorrow obviously, but it was basically tailor-made for me.
That was very much a Brandon episode. Uh, yeah. So if you're watching us live, if you're hanging out, if you just watched the episode, let us know you're here. Let us know that you're here in the chat, and yeah, we're talking about we're
Molly
talking
Percocet.
yeah, we're talking about dragons. We're talking about slut dragons. Um, no, that uh, I love that they did not bill that as the Terminator episode, because that would have we would have expected a lot more, I think, or we would our expectations would have been different. But the fact that they just pulled the 180 with the snakes, that was amazing. That was
They
fantastic.
that was an example of an episode that starts with a small conceit and then goes further and further and takes it in a partially logical direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
um yeah, and it's just absurd and crazy enough to work throughout the whole thing. Like it felt like a cohesive episode, if
yeah,
if that
yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're getting back to the tropes of classic Rick and Morty, pretty solid A and B plots, very strong A plot with a diverse story, amazing bits, creating an entire world of snakes, with a variety of types of things going on. But then also just a very simple Jerry centric B plot that still somehow ties together at certain points. And yeah, man, it was so good. That that that's gonna just make the rest of my year. Like the I mean, I know, like, sadness. We don't know when the next episode of Rick and Morty will come out, but like, to have that sort of be the note that we're left with for right now is it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to rewatch this one.
I can't wait to sit down tomorrow with Chelsea and watch it, and for her to look at, well, for me to look at her periodically, and her look over me. She's like, okay, yeah, there's all the Terminator stuff, uh, because my God, you know how much I love Terminator, Travis.
Yeah, yeah,
My my older brother and I just we're hardcore Terminator fans, and I loved Terminator Dark Fate that came out recently, and I just my my God, so much good stuff. That snake jazz, um, that really like the 5 minutes of Snake World with just the hissing,
Yes.
um, and then
Establishing the snake world for us was outstanding. Yeah.
it's so solid, and there was uh it felt a little bit Twilight Zoney at some point in time. Like I felt like there could have been at any moment a Twilight Zone reference shoehorned in there. Uh, I mean, the going back in time to to save Snake Abraham Lincoln, the Twilight Zone did it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I love it. Time travel is great.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we've talked a lot on the podcast about the show not getting involved with time travel, trying to avoid it. There have been little glimpses at times, but they completely went all in and said, "All right, we're doing time travel, but it's because we're doing a Terminator parody, and you can't do Terminator without doing time travel." So this gave us an opportunity to see Rick and Morty involved directly with time travel, actually developing time travel themselves, and then having to provide themselves with the key elements of time travel later on. I love how that sort of timeline folded in on itself. And yeah, there's a lot to dissect. There's a lot to talk about.
There really is. I'm developing discussion stuff to put out into the subreddit for the post episode discussion. The last time travel stuff is here. Are we appeased? Uh, Battlestar Galactica was a cool show, huh? Unrelated. But Terminator snakes? Question mark. And who's tracking all of the different paradoxes that the show introduced?
Oh, I'm sure there will be a whole like Reddit post dedicated to that. So
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. Memes abound. It's gonna happen. Uh, I love that the astronaut snake at the beginning that you see in the promo. So there's no spoilers there. Has a opening in its little space helmet for its fangs.
right, yeah, completely negating the purpose of the helmet, but it's a good thing to have. Yeah.
It's like gas masks. They have like a little tube that comes out that you can plug into like a canteen to to drink the water. Maybe it's the same kind of concept.
Same sort of concept. Uh, yeah, I'm excited to watch it again. I don't. It's it's a very different feeling than I had last week. I don't know why. And maybe it's just because it's so like it's so formulaic almost, where they're like, all right, grab beloved pop culture reference, in this case Terminator, build an A plot around it, and you know mess with Jerry the rest of the time. I don't know. It was I thought it was a great episode. Very very well done.
Yeah, I think we could talk about this more tomorrow specifically, but how early Rick and Morty it felt it
Hmm.
feeled
It
it
feels
felt almost. And I don't want to rewatch it, and I want to explore kind of my thoughts on why exactly that is. Um, because yeah, I think this is, of all the episodes this season, I would say this is the closest one to one of the season one, season two episodes that we've had in a long time. I would say
yeah.
even over season three. I would say on initial reaction.
Sure, absolutely. And that's what this show is. This is initial reactions. So, yeah,
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know
I
if
guess I
there's
should
anything.
go all into that.
If you're watching this live or you're watching this later, maybe it's Monday and you've woken up and you're like, oh hey, those Rick and Morty pod guys, they did a reaction. Let us know what you guys thought of the episode. Post those comments. Post that feedback on these videos. We'll come back and check it later. We want to know what you guys thought. Did you love the episode? Did you hate the episode? Do you lie somewhere in between? Do you feel like you are the Jesus Christ of Christmas? What 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 did you think? Do you think that time travel is something that they should revisit on a regular basis, or should they only use it in these special cases? Yeah, I don't know. And Morty got his adventure card ripped up, so that somehow counted as a Morty adventure. I almost wonder if somebody needs to do the math, because somebody's been doing the math for like every 10 episodes. It's a
Yeah, I'm
Morty
sure.
adventure, and I almost wonder
I
if
know.
this one just fell on the 10th, and so they had to somehow work it out so that it was a Morty adventure.
Our 10X is in the stream, saying overall it's like they tried to predict what movies would influence pop culture when they wrote these all those months ago. This is something we'll talk about again tomorrow on the podcast. But interestingly enough, this over on Twitter, uh, James Siciliano, Pizza Sauce Boss, talked about this with Mike McMahon, who produced the show this season. This was actually a concept that was like put out there in 2015, a
Right.
long time ago, and finally went through the scripting phase and actually found a place in the season this year. And and so there was no way they knew back in 2015 that there was going to be a Terminator Dark Fate new Terminator movie.
Yeah, and my counter argument on that is that Terminator has been a part of pop culture for almost 4 decades now. So to say like that they're predicting it, like yeah, like I I think Terminator just has like an undercurrent throughout pop culture of being such a well-known franchise that they could pick it up at any time, and
Yeah.
it'd be like if they did, I don't know, Back to the Future or a Ghostbusters episode, right? Like, yes, there's a new Ghostbusters movie coming out,
Oh, is
but
there?
you you know,
Oh,
Brandon.
is it? Well, yeah, like with the show, the episode last week with the dragons, and then on like the sneak, the behind the scenes thing with Harmon, he's talking about like, yeah, leave it to us, a show that takes 3 years to get made, to finally be up to speed with pop culture with a dragon episode. After Game of Thrones is off
You know
the
what's
air.
funny about that is I didn't even think about Game of Thrones until right now when you said that. In regards to that episode, it didn't even for some reason didn't make me think of Game of Thrones at all.
No, yeah. Well, it's outside. It's outside. Expect a Watchmen reference in 3 years.
Yeah, anytime now.
Which the season finale's on tonight. I haven't watched any of it, but I hear it's
I haven't watched
fantastic.
any of it. Canceled that HBO.
Oh
Whoopsies.
no, HBO. It went. HBO Go. I don't know. I was trying to make an HBO Go. It doesn't matter. It doesn't
I got it. I got it.
matter.
Well, yeah. Any other initial thoughts, Brandon?
um. We've watched all these episodes, and there hasn't we talk about like the through line and the serialization of the show, and like the long-term ramifications of things, right? And ep- episodes 1 through 4, they haven't really had any of that either. Right, there's been like, oh, okay, well, we find out a little bit more about Rick and his loneliness. We find a little bit more about um, Rick not liking heists, but there's nothing really that expands any kind of mythology in Rick and Morty, and neither does this episode. And yet, I felt upon initial reaction so much more satisfied by this episode than I had, I guess, since maybe the first episode of the season.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, like, one of the things that I felt like was appealing in early Rick and Morty was how so many episodes could sort of stand alone, and you didn't have to have like this ongoing, character development. A lot of the episodes felt like they could be one-off episodes, and there wasn't a lot of plot development or characters changing that much. And over this series so far, we've definitely seen that change. But yeah, some of those early, like, hey, let's just make fun of Inception. Let's just make fun of, I don't know, what's another one.
Lawnmower Man. That's the same episode. Jurassic Park.
There you go. Yeah.
Inception. We said Inception already. Mad Max. All those.
All those.
Relying on a kind of established pop culture to anchor the stories in familiarity, I guess you could say.
Yeah, the concern happens when you think 70 episodes. How many pop culture references are you gonna boil down? And they have to make content that doesn't rely on those as well, or they don't. They just hit up IMDb and go for broke.
go for broke. Yeah. All in all, looking forward to rewatching this. I'm actually looking forward to rewatching this.
Absolutely.
Last week's episode, I was like, oh boy, we'll see how I feel about rewatching it. And I was happy. I've come around on it and rewatching it again, leading into this episode. Like, okay, yeah, all right, it's funny to me now.
Yeah. It's improved.
This reminds me of one that I would send a YouTube link out and be like, you should watch this. This is hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send it to my brother.
The clip where they're establishing all that snake area, and it's just going, and like the snake government official shows up at the back of the snake professor's snake lecture, and like just meets, brings him in to develop the language converter so that they can understand the hisses from a different planet.
That Linda Hamilton-esque monologue coming in from the break. So good. Oh my god.
Be a child.
Okay. I'm gonna take so many notes, man.
Yeah. We're gonna rewatch this thoroughly. We're gonna have a lot to talk about on the podcast. So if you happen to have stumbled on the stream and you aren't already following us, make sure that you follow along so that you can catch us live tomorrow night, Monday, the 16th of December, where we will be discussing this episode in detail, including your feedback. So leave that down in chat. And if you don't want to watch this live, you can catch us on the podcast. That will be out shortly after we record it. So
that's right.
That's about it for tonight. Thank you guys for hanging out, and until next time, I'm Travis.
Hey, until next time, I am Brandon Cruz, and thank you for listening to our stream.
Merry Christmas.
Woo! Merry Christmas.
Punch him in the eye.